Oh, that's something. A little bit more. There we go. We've got ourselves a clock. Now let's see how this one's working. And that's kicked in. I'm going to mute it. And I'm going to do this. All right. I think that we are good, or as good as we're going to get. All right, there we go. Good morning. Well, at least it's good morning here. Maybe different in your neck of the woods. It's been snowing all day yesterday, or actually for a week leading up. We were told that on Saturday, yesterday, we were going to get 3 inches of snow. And then we were told 4 inches of snow. And then all day yesterday, it said 6 inches of snow. All day yesterday while it wasn't snowing. It finally started snowing about 10 o'clock last night, and we've got about 2 inches of slushy snow at this point. And it's coming down very lightly, so I don't know. I don't think we're getting nearly as much as we thought we were, which is fine by me, frankly. But yeah. Let's see. Who have we got in the chat? Christopher Swinsco says, "Hi all from Bristol, England. Have missed a bunch of live shows over the recent months, but happy to catch one for a change." Well, we're glad to have you, Christopher. Let me see. Good morning from Fort Worth, Texas, the heart of Kentucky, South Ontario, Massachusetts, Winnipeg, Canada. Let's see here. It moved a bunch. Germany, Great White North, Gothenburg. Let's see here. Calgary, Italy. We've got the Isle of Wight. Belgium. Greetings from rainy Krasnodar, Russia. Well, that's fun. That's a fun word to say. Krasnodar. Texarkana, Texas. Another one from Russia. Cornwall, Quebec, Minsk, Stuttgart, Exton, Pennsylvania, Denmark. Morning from Oregon. Working on Stormcast before bed. All right, well, there you go. Houston, Texas, Phoenix, London, England. We've got Central Texas, Brooklyn, Detroit, Germany, Poland, sunny Scotland. Good morning from a snowed-in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The rest of Wisconsin, like northern-more Wisconsin, did get pounded pretty hard with snow yesterday. That is true. Indianapolis, Poland, Chorley in England, Michigan, Norwich, Frankfurt. Oh my goodness, really going now. San Diego, more Germany, Houston, Greece, Iceland. Oh, that's cool. Scotland. Got someone checking in from Necromunda. Oh, that's fun. Arkansas, Texas, Lumberton, North Carolina. Working on my second Gene Stealer brood today, says Ben Ross. Well, that's cool. I've got one of those built that I bought built from someone, and I do want to work on it eventually. I was originally going to modify it to be a lictor. This is the international symbol for lictor. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but that's the plan if plans go as they are supposed to. Warhammer TV just uploaded a Sister of Battle reveal. Exciting. Oh, that sounds fun. Mexico, Alaska. Good morning from the Pocket Dimension. Let me see. Adam says, as a pastor, I don't get to watch live very often, but day off and sick kiddos means I get to be here in Johnson City, Tennessee. Jesse Daniels says, greetings from wet Milwaukee. Did you get snow up in Oshkosh land? Yes, we did. Not a lot, a little bit. Hertfordshire, UK. Got that, nailed it first time. South Korea, snowy Lansing, Michigan. Good morning from Switzerland. Smoky Sydney, represent. Hey, VJ Morph. Central Minnesota, New York, watching while rolling green stuff in my hands. That's always fun. You always want to wet your hands, they say, because then it doesn't stick to you as much. Let me see. Good morning from Door County. How are you today, Adam? I'm okay. My stomach is a little bleh, but that's probably just from all of the Thanksgivings. So, yeah, I can understand that. Andreas says, almost done with 2 cars for Gaslands. That's cool. What else have we got? Hello from Poland. Atlanta, Georgia, eating leftovers and watching YouTube at work. Nice. Afternoon from Cumbria, UK. Hope your mom's doing okay. She's doing okay. She's still at the rehab center, nursing home, whatever you want to call it. But she may not be there much longer because insurance. So we're going to find out more soon, hopefully. She's got a doctor's appointment either tomorrow or Tuesday. No one's 100% sure, which is awesome. And so, yeah, we're going to find out what's going to go on after that. But yeah, so we'll see. It's been a bit of a thing. Germany phoning in. The Zone Mortalis terrain from last week is done. Nice. Good to hear. I did finally snag a copy of the Dark Uprising box. And my local shop didn't have it, and it was a thing. So I did finally find it at a shop that's local to where I work as opposed to where I live. And so that's cool. I'm looking forward at some point in the future to be able to actually sit down and go through it. So yeah, but I was concerned it was limited edition, and it still may be. It's just because of the price point at like $290 American, it might not sell out as quickly as, say, like the Kill Team box and stuff like that. But I do think that they're not making that box in perpetuity. You know, like they keep making more Necromunda. You can buy the base Necromunda box for $125 or $130 or whatever. You can still get that. I'm suspecting they keep producing it, but I get the idea that this Uprising box they may not do that with, especially because of how much terrain comes in there. It is a massively heavy box. It is a lot of terrain. So, painting up some CIS for Star Wars Legion. Glad I could make the live show. Trying to do General Grievous's eyes, but my hands aren't steady at all. Yeah, that General Grievous. He's a bad man. Well, man is a strong word. Trey Terrell says, good morning from Chile, Central Texas. Trying to finish up some Trader Guard today. We've got Arkansas. We've got Hello from the Other Side of the Planet. We've got Your Friendly Neighborhood Sturls. Says, good morning, sir. Greetings from North Carolina. I just ordered Kill Team Starter Box. I've played 2nd edition 40k and 1st edition Necromunda. I figured it was a good mix. Did I make a wise choice? I like the Kill Team game a lot. It's currently my favorite GW game. So I think you made a good choice. Lumpy Dog says, my first Tabletop Minions live stream. Sweet. Bring on the knowledge. I'll do what I can. But glad to have you. Kelly says, hi, Adam. Happy Thanksgiving from the Gigabytes area. Thankful for you and all you do. Well, I appreciate it as well. Let me see here. What else have we got? Shard of Heresy says, I'm waiting for my new typhus to dry. If only I could time travel. There is a time traveling device that you can use that's useful, and that's an old hairdryer. Or a new one, whatever. Hairdryer is awesome for getting paint to dry quicker so you can get on to the next step. Little known fact, well, he mentions it once in a while, but whenever Sam comes and we do videos in my studio, he almost always brings a hairdryer because it just gets things done quicker in between shots. Like he's like, all right, I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and do the next step. Then it's usually a hairdryer. This is the international symbol for hairdryer. So yeah, hairdryer is a good idea for drying things out like that if you want to get on to the next step. Man of Action says, Dark Uprising is one of the biggest boxes I've ever had in my hands. It's got to be 10 to 20 pounds. Might be. I've had a heavier box in my hands. The Kickstarter box for 6th edition Ogre from Games Workshop. Ogre is a not Games Workshop. Steve Jackson Games. Yeah, when that box was delivered, it was the FedEx invoice said it was 27 pounds. So yeah, that's a massive, massive box. And I thought, okay, well, I'll store it up in the guest bedroom under the bed. And turns out it doesn't fit under the bed because it's so big. Yeah. And that doesn't have any plastic in it, really. It's like all that whole thing behind that box is everything is cardboard, thick, beefy chipboard type stuff. And yeah, it was done. It's a lot. So, but the Dark Uprising box is still pretty massive, especially for a Games Workshop thing. Sim25 says, I'm very happy with my Uprising box. A lot of nice stuff. Yeah, from what I've been told, it's great. I mean, I've seen a bunch of videos and some pictures and stuff, so that's why I knew I wanted the terrain mainly. I wanted the corpse grinders as well because I thought I could do some cool stuff with them. Here's the deal. I don't really play Necromunda, but the terrain in that is so good. I know probably in the future they will release it separately, but like they do with a lot of stuff, it will probably cost more if you were to try to buy all the stuff that's in the box later versus buying the box now. Like they did the same thing with the Kill Team original starter box. There's just a bunch of boxes. When they put out a big box, and if it's limited, even though they don't tell you it's limited, it's probably a better deal. And then after it's gone and no one can get it anymore, you can still buy a lot of the parts, usually most of the parts, but then, they cost more. So there you go. But if you did want to like save money, you could probably just buy cherry pick bits and pieces of the terrain that'll come out, because I'm sure it probably won't be one big kit. Again, like the Kill Team terrain, they released like a $35 kit, a $50 kit, a $70 or $75 kit, and a $100 kit, of that same type of terrain. And as it turned out, the $100 kit also had, I gotta readjust my chair, had those statues in it that even the main starter box didn't have. So that was interesting. But yeah. Let's see here. Tristan Asores says, hi, Uncle Adam. First live stream with you today. Well, welcome. I want to say thank you for the baking soda tip from an old video. I find a touch of fine sand sprinkled on first really makes the technique sing for me. Yeah, I mean, the baking soda is a piece of it, and then I do sometimes throw in a little bit of sand and a little bit of cat litter and stuff like that to vary the size. It depends on what the base that I'm trying to build is supposed to look like. Hello from I-95 on Maine, or in Maine, on my way to Massachusetts, trying to beat the storm home. Well, I hope you're not driving while you're typing. Hopefully somebody else is driving. Doom Smythe Studios says, hello from Toledo, Ohio. Just picked up Marvel Crisis Protocol. Have you heard anything about it yet? I mean, they announced it at Gen Con, and I saw some stuff about it there. I did not go to the press release thing, which was actually Fantasy Flight's press release thing. The In-Flight is where they originally announced it. And I know that Fantasy Flight did not make the game. I know. I've been told. It's just that they seem to be very closely attached to them because the game was announced at Fantasy Flight's press thing. It was in the Fantasy Flight booth. Anyway, but yeah, I got a demo of it on Sunday of Gen Con, and I looked at the models a bunch. I haven't received anything or reached out about anything or anything along those lines. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen it in a local shop yet either, to be honest with you. I know it's out, but I don't know that any of the local shops around here have picked it up. Maybe. I mean, to be fair, I haven't been in all of them. So, yeah. I don't see myself getting it because I kind of don't want to paint those models. I like the superhero movies and stuff like that, but those guys have got to be very specific. They need to be very clean generally. You rarely see, I mean, in the movies once in a while at certain points, they're grungy, but they're normally not. So I don't know. There's just something about it. It's not currently interesting to me, but, I wasn't originally interested in Star Wars Legion either when it came out. So we'll give it time and see how it goes. The scale thing is a problem for me, how it's slightly larger scale than everything else. And then your terrain is kind of screwy. If you're using normal 28mm terrain, everything's going to look small. And you want your superheroes to look big anyway, but if it's off by too much, then it looks really weird, in my opinion. Digitari says that the corpse grinders make good cultists for Kill Team. Yeah, I can see that too. Excuse me. Let me see here. JP Got Rocket says, I just received 6 of the Dreamforge Games Leviathan Knights. They were clearing them out for $25 each. Got all the upgrades, 6 third-party knights for the price of 1 new GW knight. Yeah, they were clearing them out, and I thought about it for a while. I actually had some stuff in a shopping cart on their website, and then I just was like, I got 2. I actually have 2 Imperial Knights in the basement to paint, so I'm like, I don't think I need to do another one. Joseph says, I take it Nick is out on a mission. Yes, actually. My wife is playing a gig this morning at her uncle's, or with her uncle's choir. Her uncle's a choir director at some church, and so she's there playing a gig. So yeah, that's where they are. Both are tonight, or this morning. How would you recommend basing D&D minis that come on the standard black circular bases? I mean, I would go probably simple. You could just do something like some simple baking soda with CA glue. You could do a little bit of sand. I would maybe paint it brown. If you want it to look like they are walking in, like a dungeon, and there's like in the grand scheme of things, usually dungeons should kind of have sort of dirt floors a little bit or something like that. But normally we see dungeons that they're all nice stone and it's all been laid by somebody. I guess it depends on the dungeon. So if you wanted to go with like the stone, cobblestone kind of look, I would either look for replacement bases that you can get, like resin ones that have cool cobblestone, or you can buy stamps, and then you put like a layer of green stuff over the top of the black plastic little base, and then you press the stamp in there that looks kind of cobblestoney, and then it can make it look cobblestone, and then you can paint it and all that stuff once it's dry and everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm this kind of Blanchitsu warband, or a couple of them that I want to work on once I can get back into the actual hobby. I want to do fancy bases with them, so I've got some stamps. You can get stamps like that. They're more like rollers. You can get them from Green Stuff World. They have different things like that can work. There are probably other companies out there as well, but Green Stuff World is one of the bigger ones right now. The only downside is if you live in the United States, they're a little hard to find sometimes because I think it's a Spanish company. But you can go online sometimes too and find them from there if you can't find them anyplace locally. But yeah, like just putting a very thin layer of green stuff on the top of the base and then rolling over it with something that looks like stone, or if you even want to get fancy and sculpt it yourself, you could do that. There's a lot of different options. It depends on what you want the floor to look like for your adventurers. If you want to look like they're outside, then you can do grass and little rocks and dirt and stuff like that. So. Let's see here. Shard of Heresy says, use a standard grass or stone base for them. I'll do the base for their homeland. Okay, well, that's good. That's a good idea. Emmanuel says, thank you for your quick review of the Kill Team Annual. A lot of us in the community are greatly anticipating it. If you could clarify, show the values about the orc point cost. So, yeah, like, where's the book here? Nope. Last one. So, when I went through to see what the point changes were, because I thought there were going to be point changes, I basically only found, the only point changes that I found were on the 3 melee weapons that orcs have available to them. I'm flipping, there we go. So, and I'm talking about the 3 that they have available to them in the main core book that originally launched. And in the main core book, the Big Choppa, I think, was 2 points. It is now 3. The Choppa was 0 points, and it is now 1. And the Power Claw was 4 points, and it is now 5. Now, that's the base that they're listing in here. But now, and this is what's so weird, if you look at how much a Mega Knob pays for it, it's 4. So, this is the only points cost change that I see from the original core book. But when you look in the Elites book, the Big Choppa is 3, as it is in the annual. The Choppa is 1, as it is in the annual. And the Power Claw is 5. So, I'm not exactly sure. There's some talk from people who've been looking at this book that there may be some typos in here. So, one of the things that people are assuming is a typo, but we're not going to know until the book comes out, is the Adeptus Sororitas, whatever. Anyway, the Sisters of Battle. So you've got your Sisters of Battle stats and all that stuff here, and there's the Battle Sisters, in which you can get a Battle Sister, up to 2 Battle Sister Gunners, or 1 Sister Superior, which is sort of standard. And then the second thing that they list is the Sister Repentia. But it says that the max is 1, so you can only take 1. And a lot of people are starting to think that that's a typo. Because in the Repentia Superior listing, which is on the last page of the Sisters of Battle section, she is a commander. She has a special ability called Driven Onwards. You can re-roll advance and charge rolls for friendly Sister Repentia models that are within 6 inches of this model when the dice are rolled. In addition, you can re-roll wounds of 1 for the attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Sister Repentia models that are within 6 inches of this model. So why would they give her this kind of special ability if you can only take one of those models anyway. You know what I mean? It's sort of weird. Also, and this is also kind of odd, the Sister Repentia under specialisms, like every model has got, like, you can use these specialisms, and if it's not listed, you can't make that particular type of model a specialist of that of the type that's not listed. That was not super clear, but I apologize. So under specialisms for Sister Repentia, you can be leader, combat, veteran, or zealot. Now, combat, veteran, and zealot, those all make sense. The fact that the Sister Repentia, who is trying to die in battle, can be your leader, that seems weird. That's also potentially, I don't know, we'll see. That one, I guess, is maybe less of a typo. That seems like a difficult thing to typo. That Max, only one of them in the squad, that seems a little bit more like a typo, but maybe that's the way they meant it. But then, again, my question is about the Repentia Superior. Like, why then have the ability to make a commander who's a Repentia Superior and then just have that person driving only one Repentia? So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out more about that soon. Let's see here. Zingbo says Choppa is definitely 1 point minimum. Yes. Yeah, that's what they listed in the book. Does it add commanders and elites to the White Dwarf kill teams? David Peel asks. To the White Dwarf. No, I don't believe so, because let's see here. So, negatory. Yeah, so you've got your Kroot. The Kroot kill team is still the Carnivore, the Hound, and the Krutox Rider. There's no commander there. And under Chaos Demons, you've only got, next page, Bloodletter, Demonette, Horrors, and Plague Bearers. And so, yeah, I don't see, like, they talk about, like, the Plague Ridden can be a leader, but they don't show anything to do. There's nothing added in this book to add commanders to either the Kroot or the Demons. Now, there are, like I said, commanders. There's two commanders to choose from, the Canoness or the Repentia Superior for Sisters. So you got those commanders, which is cool, but there's no elites, really. So that's interesting, too. And there's no elites added in here for Kroot or for Demons. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know why that is the case, but that is the case. Let me see here. Pop Burnsy says, how many points are Sisters models? Let's see if I can find them again now real quick. I should have put some bookmarks in here is what I should have done. That would have been smart. Next page. Where? Oh, yeah, no, that's right. They put them in the other pages where all the points are. There we go. Okay. So the Arcoflagellant... Flagellant, yeah, there you go. The Arcoflagellants are 13 points. The Endurant, who is kind of the boss, he's 14 points. Again, not sure if it's a he or not. Battle Sisters are 9. The Gunners are 10. And the Sister Superior is 10. And the Sister Repentia is 13. The Commanders are... Canoness goes from 40 to 80, depending on level. And the Repentia Superior goes from 30 to 70, depending on level. So yeah, it's those are the points for those folks. I would expect that, like, if you use Battlescribe and stuff like that, that they will get updated real soon, most likely. Yeah. Let's see here. Someone talking about Choppas? No, Kappa. Oh, Kappa. Yeah. Yeah, people asking about the Kappa stuff. So the way that I'm looking at it, okay, so for people who don't know, Kappa is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, I think, which was actually came up like in the 90s. But the trick is that the Federal Trade Commission here in the United States fined YouTube like $170 million because when little kids are watching Baby Shark, whatever they watch on YouTube, the ads that they were being served were directed ads. So like if you watched a bunch of kids stuff, they'd be like, okay, that's probably a kid. Let's show them ads aimed towards children. Let's show them ads for, I don't know. I don't even know what kids are like these days. I don't know. Pheasants? I don't know. Whatever. And so you show them ads for that. And that's evidently breaking this COPPA law. Okay. So fine. They got fined, YouTube. And then now there's a new switch in the settings for all YouTube channels that says, is this channel designed to be appealing to kids or not? So if you say, yes, my channel is appealing to kids, then the FTC can't touch you. But what happens is then no more comments on videos, because little kids shouldn't be talking to other people on the internet. Okay. Also, you no longer can have the directed ads where it shows kids ads to kids or whatever. It's just going to be random ads. So you're going to be a little kid watching Baby Shark and you're going to get an ad for tires or Geico or something like that. Now, the downside to that for the producer is obviously less revenue because directed ads make more money than random ads. But again, that's totally, fine. So if you decide, no, my stuff is not made for children, and you set that switch, well, then the FTC can look at your content and determine themselves whether they think it's aimed towards kids or not. And if you've done that, then they can fine you per video, like, I don't know, $42,000 or something crazy like that. Now, if the Baby Shark people, because they wanted to be able to keep comments and directed ads, and there's like 3 or 4 other little things that get turned off if you say, yes, my content is for children. If they said, well, we want to keep that stuff. No, my content's not designed for children. The FTC will nail them. Just straight up. It's going to happen. Now, I have got a YouTube channel that talks kind of about toys, a little bit. They're very expensive toys that children are not interested in. I am sure that no little children are interested in listening to me yammer on. That's fine. I'm not interested in making content for children, so that's fine too. If you look at my analytics on my, on my app, the creator app or studio app, whatever it's called, the 13 to 17-year-old segment of my analytics is like, I looked actually last night, it's 1%. So the FTC, if I had to guess, what's going to happen is YouTube, after the first of the year, is going to send a big, huge, giant spreadsheet to the FTC saying, here's all the channels that have said that they're not aimed towards children. And here's all of their analytics. And they're going to look, let's say, at my channel and go, this guy says he's not made for children, or the channel's not made for children. I'm also not made for children. I'm not going to lie. But I got no interest. Yeah, this is why we have cats. Anyway, so they're going to look at this and they're going to go, okay, this person says that their channel is not designed for children, and their current 13 to 17-year-old analytics is 1% of their views. Okay, I'm going to probably believe them. But if there's a channel out there that says, nope, we're not for children, but their 13 to 17-year-old segment is 40% of their viewers, they're going to get looked at. So I'm not super concerned about it for me. If I was a video game channel, that's a different story. And I feel for those folks. So I don't know what's going to happen in those situations, but I'm not super concerned about it. So at least, again, for me, I'm not concerned about it for my channel. I don't think I'm going to have any trouble. If there's something that I have to start to do, like at the beginning of the channels, I have to put like a, like when the record industry started putting those like explicit lyric stickers on the records and stuff like that. If I got to do something like that, and that's what people do, great, whatever. But I'm not super concerned about it from my angle. But again, if I was a Minecraft YouTuber, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what's going to happen there. So anyway, that's about the most that I've talked about. That is the most I've talked about it online, really, for the most part. But I'm not super concerned about it. VJ Morph says, my 3-year-old loves pheasants. Well, yeah, I mean, what kid doesn't? JP Got Rocket says, to be fair, though you live in Australia, you have bigger things to worry about. It's a death world down there. Everything either poisons you or eats you, though. So what's a little FTC/COPPA? I don't know that everything... Diesel, what are you doing? He's attacking the curtain for some reason. What are you doing? Stop it. Hey. Lay down. No. Hey. Not sure. All of a sudden, he's just decided he was sleeping in the basket over there next to the window, and now he's sitting up, and he's just sort of batting at the curtain. There's no bugs. It's winter. Lay down. He's getting old. I sometimes wonder if he's got the something going on. Now he's cleaning his face. The noob painter has a very good point. Says, show them the box. It says not children's toys. And that's true. When the Kill Team Annual book showed up, the boxes that come from Games Workshop always say right on the side, not children's toys. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a tax thing in the UK or if it's something else, but I could just show them that and go, look, sorry, this is not children's toys. So that's the way I look at it. Let's see here. What else? Anyone here played any Burrows and Badgers anthropomorphic skirmish game? As far as I can tell, the setting is Wind in the Willows meets The Sopranos. That's funny. Wondering what the gameplay is like. I own a copy of it because Osprey sent me a copy of it last year, and I've read through it a bit. I guess I don't get the Sopranos vibe, but I do enjoy the analogy. I mean, the book is gorgeous. It's very well done, and they've got a decent line of models, little anthropomorphic little people, kind of like fantasy, like D&D type folks, except some of them are badgers and some of them are rabbits and potentially pheasants, like if they want to get the kids. But yeah, I have not played it, and I don't know anybody around here who does, but I could definitely see that being a title that would appeal potentially, like if you're trying to get like your kid, it could be a little gateway-ish almost. Like, it's not very board gamey, but it's a war game that I could see getting kids a little bit more interested into if you wanted to. Most of them, obviously, children are not super interested in a lot of wargaming. Now, as soon as I say that, then someone's like, well, I'm a 13-year-old and I love Napoleonics, and that's great, but it's not the standard. It's not the norm. When I did the video a couple of years back about are you old enough for historicals, and talked about how there seems to be an age where all of a sudden like a switch goes off and you're like, I'm kind of interested in World War II. I had plenty of people in the comments who were like, oh, I'm a fetus and I love to play bolt action, and I'm like, okay, well, that's rare, but that's good, that's cool. There you go. Jay Tix says, hope your Turkey Day was good. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was not too bad. Got to see some family, so that was fine. Anime Otaku says, some people have jokingly been thinking about starting videos with a bunch of swearing so that you can tell it's not for children. See, it's this weird fine line, too, because like earlier this year, it came out that the algorithm for YouTube or whatever gets mad, advertising-wise, if they're swearing in the first 30 seconds to a minute. So people were like not swearing for the first 30 seconds to a minute, and now there are people who are like, but if I do that, then people will know it's not for kids, and it's a whole thing. It's always a moving target, and you kind of have to do that. Let's see here. Sounds like a parent to me. What are you doing? Stop that. Lay down. Well, yeah, Diesel is almost a toddler, but yeah. Arthur Hutchinson says, in the States, toys need special tax/safety stamps and research to be sold not to kids or to be sold to kids, and simply labeling not for kids eliminates a lot of that necessary licensing. That's probably a good idea. So let me see here. See, Zach Walker says, I'm a 13-year-old and I love wargaming. There you go. See? Adam, did you hear anything about Space Hulk making another run? I have not. I think it would be a good idea. I had heard something. I'd heard some whispering about some new box coming out between now and like spring of 2020 that they haven't talked about at all yet. But I haven't heard anything about that since like Gen Con. So, and I don't know, and it wasn't from a GW person. It wasn't like from the horse's mouth. It was from another source. And, but they said it wasn't anything that they've done currently, and so I don't think it would be that Space Hulk, because they've been doing Space Hulk on and off for years. So yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I'd like to see them come out with something. I mean, Space Hulk is always cool, and I'm always interested in it. So I think that I personally think it should be a thing that they just keep in stock all the time, rather than like having it out and that kind of. They should just have it available all the time, kind of like Necromunda is, kind of like I think Blood Bowl's the same way. Isn't Blood Bowl pretty much always available? I think Space Hulk should be too. It's a good game to get people into wargaming. It's what got me into wargaming. So yeah, I think that would be a good idea, but we'll see. But if they're going to come out with another new kind of IP or another new kind of small kind of box game that's a little bit, and I don't think it was, because it wasn't the airplane game. It wasn't whatever that thing's called, Aeronauticus, Flyaroundicus, or whatever. It's because that was already announced when I heard this news. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. Let me see here. I think I might be playing a lot of God Tier, says Emily. When I got my massive Kickstarter, my husband actually asked to open them to read the rules. I'm so excited he might play a war game, Gateway or not. Yeah, actually, I got a little bit of the God Tier stuff as well. I did not get the giant pile that you got, that you posted online, Emily, but I didn't do the Kickstarter. Steamforged Games sent me two different starters, and two like little add-ons, so I could take a look at the models. The models, for not having to put them together and being in like slightly softerish plastic than GW, it's not that hard kind of plastic, but it's not bendy like HeroClix. It's the same kind of plastic they're using, from what I can tell, in their Guild Ball boxes now. Decent looking like models. I kind of like the concept. From what I can tell, just off the top of my head, it seems as if God Tier is kind of like Shadespire or Warhammer Underworlds, except that the factions kind of don't matter. You can mix and match models, it seems, from pretty much any faction to make your warband. It's not like in Underworlds, you buy a warband and that's the warband. And in God Tier, you can take like a dude from here and the lady from this one and something with tentacles over here, and you build them all together to make whatever for your warband, which I think is kind of interesting. So I do want to get into it a little bit more when I get the time, but I was glad to see that stuff finally come out and everything, because I've been hearing about it for quite some time. But yeah. Zach Walker says, "Hey, Uncle Adam, what's your opinion of the new Warhammer The Old World announcement?" I never really played Fantasy, so I don't have a lot of skin in that game. I don't like square bases. I don't know why. It's just an aesthetic thing. Drives me nuts. There's been talk, I guess, about how the fact that they'll probably still be using round bases, but they'll have special trays, kind of like the folks over at Coolmini do with the Song of Ice and Fire, where the models have round bases, but you put them on trays that are rectangular, and then you move them around. And the upside of having the round bases is then you can kind of move the models a little bit. It was always a problem with the original Warhammer Fantasy, where if you had to get all those models into one kind of block, sometimes someone's spear would poke somebody else in the butt or whatever, and that kind of thing, and you couldn't turn them. Now, most of these companies, like that Parabellum Games Conquest, they do the same thing. It's a rank and flank style game, but the models are all round base, so you can turn them within the tray, and then that way you're not poking somebody in the back of the head with a sword or whatever, which is nice. But anyway, I don't. It sounds like it's years off. Honestly, if you're interested, go look up a couple weeks ago from Warhammer Weekly. It was on a Friday. Normally it's on Wednesday. That's on Vince Venturella's channel. He and Tom, who normally do the Wednesday Warhammer Weekly show, they did like a kind of a deep dive into their opinions on it, and they're much more knowledgeable than I am on that stuff. So check that out if you want, like, I think some good opinions on that. I think it's cool that they're bringing it back. It sounds to me like it's basically the Horus Heresy equivalent for 40K. This is going to be the kind of Horus Heresy for Age of Sigmar, so it's probably going to be mostly Forge World, but I have a suspicion there will probably still be a decent amount of plastics in there, because GW doesn't seem these days to just go, well, we're going to do the same thing but with a different face on it. You know what I mean? Like, people were talking about when Warcry was first announced, they were like, oh, it's going to be Kill Team but for Age of Sigmar. Well, not exactly. Like, they instead made it a little bit of a mixture between Necromunda, you know what I mean? Because you've got these 6 different bands that are all specific just to Warcry. Whereas Kill Team didn't have any specific brand new factions just for Kill Team. So instead of just duplicating what they've done in the past, even though it was popular, they've still tweaked it to see what they can do with it. So rather than saying, hey, Horus Heresy is 98%, resin, except for there's some plastics that came like in the Betrayal of Calth and stuff like that. And so we're going to do the exact same thing with the Old World. I think that they're probably going to release more plastic kits, but still have a lot of it also on Forge World. But we'll see. That's just a guess on my part. I've got no background on that. Let me see what else have we got here. J Tick says, when they announced that Old World, I was in my bunk for the next 24 hours. Oh, I'm sure you were, sir. I get you. Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's see. Emily says it is the same plastic as the Guild Ball. I have both. That's kind of what I thought just from looking at it. Dirt Core says, could you see if there are any new tactics for Eldar kill teams? I mean, I don't know what the old ones are, so I wouldn't have any idea whether there are any new ones. Let's see. Heretic Astartes. Nope, going the wrong way. Adeptus. Heretic Astartes. More Heretic Astartes. Death Guard. Thousand Suns. There we go. Asurani. You've got Masters of Stealth. Bring the Torch. Celestial Shield. Psychic Bond. Warriors of the Webway. Appear Unbidden, The Great Enemy, Supreme Disdain. That's what I've got for the Eldar. Our Time of Need, Matchless Ability, Feigned Retreat, Fire and Fade, and Phantasm. Oh, wait, and more. Asurman's Blessing, Rune of Ynid, Path of Command, Spirit Mark, Wayforger, Divine the Future, and Forewarned. Those are all of the Asurani tactics. Now, from what I've been told, some people have said that what this book is doing is it's taking the tactic cards that were in some of the special, like they would make those special boxes where it's like, hey, this is just a bunch of Tempestus Scions for Kill Team. It also comes with a weird little piece of terrain or some terrainy stuff, and it also comes with all the stuff you need to start a warband like that. And then in those boxes, there were usually some exclusives, like exclusive cards you can only get in those boxes. Some people have been saying online that they think that the majority of those cards have showed up in this annual. I don't know that because I haven't gone through and messed with all those cards, so I don't know that for sure. But those ones that I just read off, if you go back and look at yours, like you can rewind this later or whatever, listen to it, then you'll be able to tell whether there's new ones in there or not. There are pages and pages and pages of tactics for all the different factions and stuff like that. So I don't know that there are a ton of new ones, but there might be some of the exclusive ones that only came in the original, those boxes that they made. Let me see here. Space Marines have damn near everything, though. Harlequins never get any love, but I am glad that they were brought back. Well, I mean, Space Marines are the big seller. That's, I think, part of it. You make more of what seems to be selling, and that seems to be the case, at least as far as Games Workshop is concerned in this situation. Mike G says, any thoughts on Mantic's Dead Zone game? From what I've read, it seems like it's a stripped-down kill team. First edition was cool. It had these cards that was like part of the mechanic, which I didn't like a ton. The second edition, when it came out, they said, yeah, those cards don't work so hot. And they pulled that stuff out, which I think was this really super smart idea. I mean, it's a kill teamish style game. It is. I think one of the things that's interesting about it is that it kind of gets rid of the need for a ruler, because you play it on this like 2 foot by 2 foot, if I remember correctly, board that has a grid on it. But it's not like a real small grid that's just the size of the people's bases. The grids are, I don't know, maybe 3 inches by 3 inches. And what happens is when you move, you're told, oh, you can move, let's say, 3 grid pieces or whatever. So you're going to be able to move 1, 2, 3, which is easy, and you don't have to pull out your ruler. The trick is that when you move into that third piece, you can go anywhere in that piece that you want. So if there's like a little piece of scatter terrain over on the side of it, you could be like, cool, I'm going to hide behind this piece of scatter terrain. Or I want to not have that guy be able to see me. So if I move over to this portion of the 3x3 square, then that guy can't see me. So it's not like if I'm going to shoot somebody, I just have to be able to shoot the giant square they're standing in. You still have to be able to see the model and that kind of stuff. But for movement, you just go 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, or whatever. So that's really kind of a smart idea because it's, you're limited in that you have to play with a board with squares, but the benefit is you don't have to be pulling out a tape measure and constantly be going, can I go 6 inches? What am I doing? And so that's sort of nice. You just kind of go with things. But then when you get to that last square, you can kind of stand anywhere in there that you want. So if there's scatter terrain or whatever in the way, you can potentially get yourself some cover and stuff like that. So it gives it still enough depth because of the placement, but you don't have to get down and measure to the 16th of an inch. Go, well, I think you moved a little too far. I mean, are you in the square or not? That's where you had to go, which I think is a super smart idea. Some of the models I think are very cool. The terrain, of course, is really nice and modular and everything like that. But yeah, definitely, the material, at least on the older models, is kind of like a resin plastic mixture, and some of them are a little hard to work with, but not all of them. Honestly, the material is only a little bit harder, and maybe a touch waxier feeling, like surface-wise, than say like the normal Star Wars Legion folks. Like the Stormtroopers, the Rebels, the clones. The battle droids in the new set are actual harder plastic, and they're on a sprue, so that's a totally different thing. But it's kind of like the Star Wars models, although, yeah, I think the Star Wars models do have a little bit more detail than the older Mantic stuff. The newer Mantic stuff has actually been quite nice, and a lot of them have moved to plastic as well for Dead Zone and for, at least I think that's the case. I'm pretty sure a bunch of them moved to plastic. I bought 4 boxes of the basically like zombie guardsmen. They call them, or they're basically plague troopers, is what they call them in that. And those are plastic and not resin. So yeah. Let's see here. Chori Queso says, when will GW no longer carry gaming content creators in their pockets? Every upload is GW paints, GW new releases, or GW battle reports. There are so many great non-GW games out there. Well, I know with battle reports, one of the reasons you don't see a lot of GW battle reports is because people don't actually watch them. The reason that the big battle report group out there, being Mini Wargaming, pretty much the biggest YouTuber out there for wargaming, they stopped a number of years ago doing anything but GW stuff because they were spending the same amount of time to do an X-Wing report, but it wasn't getting watched as much. They were doing the same amount of time to do a War Machine report, wasn't getting watched as much. So, I've done one battle report. People don't realize it, I think, sometimes, but I did a Wreck Age battle report a year and a half ago, and the video that I did on Friday is currently almost double the amount of views as that video from a year and a half ago. And it's just basically because if people don't recognize the game as easily, then you just don't get as many people watching. So that's part of it. I think that people talk about, like, one of the reasons that I'm talking about, like, this book and that kind of stuff is because it's the biggest stuff in the industry. And when I'm talking to predominantly newer players, that's the stuff that they hear the most about. The biggest company in the industry, like there are lots of car companies out there, but you mainly hear about the big, huge ones that everybody knows about. So if you are a hobbyist who's really into cars, then you're maybe more likely to know about the smaller car companies, the custom build things, the stuff that's just for track day and that kind of jazz. But when you're basically just a person who's like, I'm getting into buying a car because I need to be able to get to work, you're probably going to buy, Ford or a Nissan or a Honda or one of the big companies. So it's partially because I'm trying to get people in the hobby, and GW is trying to get people in the hobby, which is very different than it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. 4 years ago, GW wasn't trying to get anybody in the hobby. They just wanted to try to keep making money by doing, frankly, kind of the bare minimum. When they got the new CEO, now they've got their own Twitch channel. They're killing it on YouTube. They're doing all this stuff, and most of the games that they make these days are designed to be easy for new people to pick up and to get into the hobby, because that's the only way to make the hobby thrive. If the only way that you produce stuff is, this incredibly steep learning curve like 7th edition 40K was, or 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, that steep learning curve and needing to buy, $700 worth of models to be able to build an army was daunting. But now when you're like, look, you can get into Kill Team for $50 plus a $40 book, people are like, that's kind of cool. I can do that. Skirmish games, that's why they're popular, is because they draw new people into the hobby. So, it's just a thing. I'll be perfectly honest as well. I prefer GW models to many other companies out there. There are some great looking models out there by other companies, don't get me wrong. But in general, when I see a GW model, I'm more interested because of the quality. Mantic's doing pretty good work too, but so is the Malifaux folks. They do amazing looking work as well. If there were more people in my area that played Malifaux, I would probably be playing more Malifaux as well. I don't know that I would do battle reports for it because there's not a lot out there, and just that, it's one of those deals where it seems like it's maybe a self-perpetuating thing, and maybe it is, but I think it's difficult right now, like with GW being the big 800-pound gorilla in the industry. It's difficult to say, there are channels out there that do it. They're like, I'm just going to do battle reports for this particular game because this is the game I like. And you can do that, absolutely. But, they're not going to get watched as much. And if you are trying to do this YouTube thing to help to at least pay for itself in some fashion and allow you to buy, new cameras and things like that from time to time, and whatnot, then yeah, you're going to probably try to make sure that you are getting the views and or whatever, that kind of stuff. But for me also, it is a situation of I just do, like, Kill Team is right now my favorite tabletop war game. And the models, for the most part, are really also still my favorite models, GW ones in general. But like I said, I am starting to look at, like, God Tier. Those models I think are really interesting. They're also super interesting because you don't have to build them. They're already pre-built. So I want to try painting up some of them and seeing what happens with it. But that's the way it works. So that's kind of the deal. It's not so much like, I've had people say, oh, they pay you. They obviously pay you. And they don't. They don't pay anybody that I know of. Yeah, that's just kind of the way that it sort of works. Let's see, what else have we got here? Rabbit Burner says, gotta go. Being looked at to put up the Christmas tree. Oh yeah, I will allow it because it is now past Thanksgiving. Like, if this was like, before Thanksgiving, I'd be like, I don't know, man, I'm not sure. But after Thanksgiving, yes, then the Christmas tree is definitely a thing. It was great to catch some of the live show. Have fun, minions. Well, good to see you, Rabbit Burner. David Moffat says, we irregulars still desire more bat reps from Uncle Adam. I do agree. And I still want to get some done. I still wanted to get one done at least by the end of the year. We will see. I was actually supposed to film one on Friday with my friend John, who was coming up from Cincinnati, actually. His brother lives in Milwaukee, and so they were coming up for the Thanksgiving. John is you've probably seen John Caspian before. He's the marketing guy for Gigabytes Cafe, which is a huge store down by Atlanta, like 9,000 square foot, humongous store. He does tons of live streaming every week, talking about new releases and this and that and whatnot, stuff related to Gigabytes Cafe. We've been friends for a couple of years now. And so he was going to come up and we were going to shoot in the studio. And then he had 103 fever and was sick as a dog. So we did not film on Friday. He did not come up, which I appreciate. I don't want him to be driving a car while hallucinating from a fever. So yeah, that's totally makes sense. That all being said, so I'm still hoping to be able to try to get at least one done before the end of the year. And then my plan is in 2020 to try to do more. Again, this thing with my mom is a limiting factor in the situation. So there's that too. I keep making these videos, like these videos on Sunday mornings, the Every Other Sunday show. I'm still trying to do the Friday videos and things like that. Because, and I've mentioned this in a couple other places, like I've got the two hobbies. I've got wargaming and the playing and the painting and the building and stuff that related to that. And then my other hobby is making videos and doing stuff here with the community. I've had to drop off the wargaming portion of the hobby right now, and I've basically spent all of my free time on making videos because I don't know that I'd be able to handle not doing it a little bit. Like it's keeping me sane to some degree. So that's kind of where that's at. I would love to also sit down in the basement and spend a bunch of time working on models and things like that. When I do have extra free time outside of making videos and working and dealing with my mom's stuff and everything like that, I've been trying to clean the basement. So that's where that's at. So I appreciate the support and the good wishes, for my mom's recovery, and I do so much. But I do want to get at least, I'd love to still be able to get a battle report done before the end of the year. We'll see how that works. But yeah, things are in the studio are getting to the point where it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's not, the battle report room is not perfectly dialed in. I'd still like to do a little bit more anti-sound reflection, like that, that black foam that you see that looks like an eggshell container or egg container, whatever. I've got some of that I want to put up in a couple of spots to help, but I put a carpet in there, a rug in that room. That helps a bunch. But the lighting is close to dialed in, and I think my microphones are good, and so we'll see. It is the 1st of December, so it'll be a race to see if I can get a battle report done this month and up, but I would love to do it. That's my January resolution. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Try and hold me to it, but we'll see. Lumpy Dog says, our little rescue kitties practically live under the Christmas tree for the month or so it's up. Yeah, that's definitely the case. That's a lot of fun. My in-laws, they always put up a tree, and then there's cat issues with that as well. So yeah, we don't generally put up a tree, so we don't have to worry about cat issues, which is good. Jeremy Mayo says, I was looking for some bits this weekend. It's been a while, and it seems like most of the GW bits sellers have dried up. Even eBay has let me down. Has the market for this just died down, or what? I don't know. I haven't come across... Like, if anything, the bits sellers should be better off than they were 4 or 5 years ago. So 4 or 5 years ago, if GW found out that you were selling bits and you were one of their... I forget what if you had a contract from GW, meaning you were a store. Let's say you were a store, you buy direct from GW, so you get a discount, and they are acting as the distributor in that situation. Normally, stores work with distributors, so they don't have to go and reach out to every single manufacturer out there to buy this board game and get 2 of them, and then this board game and get 3 of them, and then Steve Jackson Games, so you could buy some Munchkin. Instead, you work with distributors like ACD and Alliance and GTS and Blackhawk and stuff like that, and then you buy stuff from them, and they ship it to you, and then you don't have to get it from all over the place. That being said, some of the bigger manufacturers, Games Workshop, Wizards of the Coast, if you want, you can work directly with them, and then they give you a better price to some degree because they're cutting out the middleman, the distributors, and it's a thing. Anyway, if you had a contract with GW and GW found out that you were buying kits and then selling them on eBay, even if you were cutting them all up and selling the bits on eBay, they would get rid of your contract because they didn't want you selling stuff on eBay. I don't know if that has changed. I know that you can now sell GW stuff through your website, which you couldn't do 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Like if you were a store and you had a website, you could not sell GW stuff through your website because they didn't want that for some reason. Now they're like, okay, you can do that. So I don't know. I would think that some of those rules have been relaxed. So I don't know why you'd be seeing less bit sellers. I did go online recently and buy something. I bought a power sword for a conversion I was doing, and I didn't find any less or more in my opinion, so I don't know. That's interesting. I have not seen that. John Ashley Smith says the new AdMech flyer that they showed off at Warhammer Open Day or whatever it was called yesterday is absolute madness. I love it. Yeah, for those of you that haven't seen the new Adepts Mechanicus flyer, they finally released a flyer for that army. It's the first one ever. It kind of looks like the Batcopter, a little bit. If you go back and watch that Batman movie from the 60s, it is Yeah, it's weird looking. It's a little chitty chitty bang bang going on there a little bit too. So I don't know. That's odd. That's really weird. Yeah. Let's see here. Uncle Adam, what do you think about the preview of new animations from GW? I mean, that's cool. I'd like to see them do, like, if they can do a decent, like I've said for years, if somebody could make a 90-minute feature of the that was of the quality or even a bit better than the original intro to the Dawn of War video game, I would go see it in the theater twice. I would buy it on Blu-ray. I mean, I would be, yeah, I'd be all on board. You know, putting the videos on YouTube and watching them for everybody for free, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I can watch YouTube on my television, so that's fine too. I don't know. I would just like to, I would like to see an actual movie that shows up in the theaters, but my concern is that only those of us who like to play war games would watch it, and Lord knows we're a small niche. So, Andy says, do you like Kill Team more than 40K because of gameplay or space or time or money? I mean, the gameplay is very much kind of the same a little bit. I do like the fact that I'm working one model at a time instead of shooting a squad, but that's negligible. For me, it is the time, the space, but really it's the models. I don't want to have to build a 1,500 point army every time that I want to try out a new faction. I like being able to go, oh, these guys are cool. I'm going to get, 2 little boxes of this and then have an entire faction. Have an entire warband. You know what I mean? It's the buffet aspect is what I like. Like currently I have 6 painted warbands for Kill Team. And I have Tyranids that are on deck. They're primed, built and textured and primed. Even base coated, sort of primed. And then I've got Tau and Admech who are built but not textured and primed. So they're, and then I want to do Orcs after that. And then probably, I still kind of want to do Grey Knights, even though they're hot garbage. I just have never painted Grey Knights before. So there's, there's just stuff like that. That's what I like about Kill Team is being able to hop around and be able to pick up and have fun doing all the different armies kind of that I've ever wanted, the factions that I've wanted to, without having to go and say, okay, well, now I have to do at least 1,500 points. Generally, you know what I mean? That's the thing that I like. Currently deployed, says David Coleman, and this is the first time I'm able to catch your show live. Well, absolutely. Thank you very much, and thanks for your service. Just want to say thank you for helping keep me up to date on the hobby that I'm missing out on. Always enjoy your input. Absolutely, absolutely. Glad that you could make it. J Tick says, actually, the bit sellers are huge, but regularly sold out of stuff because of the popularity of things like Kill Team. I had not thought of that. It's not that there people aren't selling stuff out there. It's that the stuff is actually out of stock on eBay because so many people are buying it. That's a good point. Interesting. JP Got Rocket says, bit sellers are still there, but more people are doing conversions. Interesting. So what that means is that if you're interested, one thing you could do, if you got a little extra time, want to start a little side business, is if you go, I really want one of these flying backpacks, one of those, like a jump jet backpack things from these Chaos dudes, because I'm going to use it for this conversion. You spend the $50 or whatever to buy the box, you get the backpack you need, and then you part out all the other parts and throw them up on eBay, and then boom, they're gone. And then you sell them is what you do. And you could do that. That's, it comes down to a situation of like, well, do you want to spend $5 for a piece of plastic? There's convenience in that rather than buying the entire box. But if you're going to buy the entire box to get the piece of plastic and then sell all the stuff that's in the box and maybe make $60 when you bought only $50, or maybe you'll make more, depends. I don't even know what the prices are really these days. It's not a bad little kind of side gig to do. And you don't even have to do it all the time. That's the thing that's interesting too. You could say, I really need this sword from this kit. You go buy it, and then you use the sword you want, maybe pull aside a couple extra bits that you might also want, and then sell all the rest of the bits. And then you don't have to do it again until you need to do it again. Like you need to buy some other thing. But you could also make it a little side gig. And people would, that's the thing, is like GW was never really busting in on bit sellers. Like if you just were selling some bits that you had extra because you bought this kit and you didn't need the rest of it, that was not a problem. It was like if they could figure out that you were a store that buys their stuff at wholesale or whatever they sell it for to the stores, and then you were then taking those bits and selling them, that they did not like. But if you were just a person who was doing it on the side, they never cared. And now they care even a little bit less because they understand that, sure, maybe some of these stores are buying things and then bits parting it out, but that still means that the stores are buying things. So that's, which I always thought was the smart idea. They always gave these kind of weird excuses. It was always like, well, but you see, people should come to the stores because it's the fit and all this kind of stuff. But the fact is that they wanted to be the only online seller at the time. And now they realize that's just not doable. But if we can get more people selling online other than just us, we're still selling them product and it's still shipping more stuff. So it makes sense to me. Let's see here. Kelly says, Adam, are you coming to Adepticon? Meetup planned in Hotel Bar. Yeah, definitely still going to Adepticon. That's in late March, so hopefully that definitely I'll be there. I'll figure something out if there's still mom related issues. I'm hoping. I mean, that's 4 months away or whatever, so I'm hoping that at least she'll be better off. At least she'll be able to be getting around at least with a cane by that point. But we'll see. But yeah, I can't, never say never, but I'm pretty sure I'll be there. That being said, I very possibly won't be going to Las Vegas Open. I was planning on going to Las Vegas Open, and I'd bought airline tickets, and I got a hotel room, and then weird crap happened with the hotel room, and then they said that I still had the hotel room, and I got a confirmation number, and then I got an email a couple days later saying it had been canceled, and it's been a whole thing. Currently, I don't think I have a hotel room, but I still have the flight. And I've been wanting to get back to them and go, look, do I have a hotel room or not? Can we get this figured out? But now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I'm just canceling the flight and not going to Vegas. I didn't have any classes planned to teach there or anything like that. I was basically just going to talk to people and hang out and whatever. I wasn't going there to do Vegas things because I don't really like Vegas things. But now I'm kind of thinking I'm not going, unfortunately. So we'll see. I'll know a little bit more the next week or so, hopefully. But right now I'm kind of thinking, I started thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, I'm probably just canceling that flight. Yeah, but I will be there at Adepticon come hell or high water. I really, really hope. But very much, most likely, yes. Because again, like I said, it's late, whatever you call it, late March. So there. Let's see. What else have we got? John Ashley Smith says, gotta get the Kill Team core rulebook. Feel like I'm missing out on a lot of fun. Kill Team is spectacular. I really do enjoy it. And the fact that the main core book, which is this one here, is like $40 and has so much in it for basically like everybody's in here except for Recruit, the Chaos Demons, and the Sisters. And if you want to get them, you could just get this book, which frankly I didn't even look to see how much this book costs. I should probably look online and see how much the new annual costs. But then you could be kind of set there. Some of the other books as well, like Elites, I think is cool. Commanders, I'm honestly not super interested in, but Elites, I think Elites is a very cool add-on. But it's not something you particularly need. Like, you could get it later. $35 is the Kill Team annual. Okay, well, that's actually not terrible. I think it's interesting on the website that they say it's an unmissable Kill Team gaming compilation. Packed full of White Dwarf articles and brand new rules. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a bad book. I would have bought it anyway. But I'm kind of a dork like that. But I would definitely say if you're just getting into Kill Team, obviously you need the core book because that's where all the rules are. You could hold off on this for at least a while, unless you're like super interested, like I gotta play Chaos Demons or I gotta play Sisters or whatever. Then you'll probably need that. So there's that. There used to be a Games Day event in London that had loads of hobbies being showcased and played. Yeah, they don't do the Games Day. Well, from what I understand, GW doesn't do the Games Day thing as much anymore. They used to do the Games Day thing here in the United States too. Like years and years ago, there was one in Baltimore, there was one in Chicago, and one in I think LA. And then they reduced it down to, we're just doing the Chicago one, because that's in the middle of the country. That should be fine. And then they were like, well, let's just do it in Memphis, because that's where our headquarters is, and then we don't have to, like, get hotel rooms, I guess, for themselves or whatever. And that was when the company was not doing great, around 7th edition, 40K. And so, I don't know, there's talk about now that they're doing well again, whether they will have another thing or not, but they haven't, I haven't seen anything come out about it yet. So I would like to have, the problem is that when Games Day was in Chicago, which is only about a 3-hour drive for me, my day job just never linked up. We had this huge event at my day job every year that was like the exact same weekend as Games Day. It was always in August or late July or whatever. And so I always missed it. So I never did get to go, unfortunately. But now the Golden Demon competition, for those of you that don't know, is because that's where you went to the Golden Demon competition was at, Games Day. Well, now, like, that ended in America in 2013, so there hasn't been an American Golden Demon competition since 2013. Well, now, this upcoming year, 2020, at Adepticon, there's going to be the Golden Demon. So, because the Crystal Brush, which was the big Adepticon painting competition, that's ended because it was sponsored by Cool Mini or not. There was like a contract, and they got to the end of it, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do it anymore. So there's no more Crystal Brush at Adepticon. There may be a Crystal Brush at Cool Mini's Expo, which I think they're still doing, but I haven't heard. But it takes place down in Atlanta if it's still happening. But so now they're at Adepticon this year. There will be Golden Demon, which of course has to be Games Workshop stuff, but there'll also be several other painting contests from other companies. Creature Caster's doing one. I think Arena Rex is doing one. So you've got more choices of competition that way, which I think is kind of cool if you're into that stuff. Yeah, definitely. Zingbo says that Grey Knight's got a decent shot in the arm in Kill Team Elites, not due to new models, but 2 Cybolts is a big buff. Oh yeah, I'll have to take a look at the Elites. I haven't looked at the Elites for them yet. Cordial says, I gotta say, for skirmish games, Necromunda is the one for me. Small warband sizes, but then you have a lot of rules crunch in there and the focus on campaign games. It pips out Kill Team by a bit, in my opinion. Well, that's cool. Honestly, especially now with the new terrain out, I really ought to look at Necromunda again. I just don't know if I need both, and I like Kill Team enough that I might just stick with Kill Team, but the reason I bought the terrain for Necromunda for Dark Uprising is because I want more terrain for my Kill Team stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I should probably try to play it at a convention to try it out a little bit more. I've read through the rules and been like, It reminds me a bit more of like 2nd edition 40K a little bit, and I like how more streamlined the Kill Team rules are that are a little bit more like 8th edition. So I don't know. I should definitely check it out. So that would be a good idea. The problem is that, so I own most of the models for Necromunda. Like every time they come out with a new faction, Van Sar or Orlox or whatever, Cawdor, I go out and buy that box, which is usually like $40 or $45, because I'm like, these models are so awesome, I know I'm going to use them for other stuff. And I have been starting, when I was building these warbands for Star Breach and for Zone Raiders, I was kit bashing, but using a lot of these base models from the Necromunda boxes. Well, if I decided to start playing Necromunda, like, I'd have to go buy new models, because now a lot of these sprues are a bit picked over, you know what I mean? Which wouldn't be the end of the world. But yeah, I don't know. I'd also have to find somebody else to play with around here, because I don't know anybody around here, sadly, I think, who plays Necromunda. When Shadow War Armageddon came out, there was a bunch of people that started playing that, including me, and then Kill Team came out, and then most of us switched to that. But Necromunda didn't get, I don't think, a super fair shake around here. But it was also, Shadow War Armageddon, and then it came out Necromunda, and then came out Kill Team. Like, I think all in 2018, although maybe Shadow War came out in 2017. But it was like boom, boom, boom. And so, yeah, that was, planning-wise, it made it a little difficult. But I think the benefit was that if you were like really into Necromunda, especially if you were into old Necromunda back in the day, then you were like, well, of course I'm going to get back into Necromunda. But then for people who were like, I'm not sure about Necromunda, and then Kill Team came out, they're like, okay, I'll do Kill Team. And I think that's like, Yeah, I do honestly think that's a bit of it, frankly. I think it was like we want to have different vectors to get into the hobby, and we want to make choices available for folks to be able to go either this direction or this direction, even though to some people from the outside maybe almost look like the same direction, you know? So, um, do you think it is important to have a common theme on your army's bases? I'm a kind of detail-oriented nerd, so for me, yeah, I do like to keep my bases all the same on an army if I can. Honestly, for my kill teams, I've been keeping all of their bases the same. So I don't even just mean within a single faction. I mean every single one of my factions for kill team all have the same type of base. I've just come up with a process for making my bases. I want them because so much of kill team, at least the way that I've been, like the boards that I've been building and stuff like that, have a tendency to be more urban kind of looking. I've just been doing very simple, quick urban style bases. I did a video about it earlier this year about, basically these bases are almost cheating. I wanted to make them look like asphalt, but with some rubble kind of scattered across it. And so I was like, what texture can I put on these bases to look like asphalt? But if you look at a GW plastic base, it already has a very, very subtle texture to it, which to scale, if you just paint it gray and then do a little bit of dry brushing, kind of looks like dark gray. It kind of looks like asphalt right off the bat without having to do anything to it. So all I did was I glued down some extra pieces of like kitty litter to look like kind of like pieces of rubble or rocks that had been like kicked around on the asphalt, and then painted them, and they all look kind of the same. But it's also because it's faster and easier. With these war bands these kind of Blanchitsu style war bands that I want to get back to eventually once I can get back into modeling, those bases I want to spend more time on and do a little bit more sculpting and messing around. But yeah, for my kill team guys, I keep them real simple. I personally, if I'm doing an entire army, let's say for 40k or Age of Sigmar, I want the bases to all look the same, but that's just my own kind of a little bit of mini ACD thing that I get going on. OCD, not ACD. ACD is a distributor that I talked about before. What else? Is there a Chaos version of Deathwatch Marines? Asks Clonehead. Not really, no. I don't think so. I think that Deathwatch, like Chaos, like right off the base, doesn't allow for something as organized as Deathwatch. Like Deathwatch is designed to just fight Xenos, aliens, whatever. Chaos, they don't have a direction really, hence the chaos part. They're just like, we just want to do these things and whatever. But it's like they don't go, well, we better make sure to fight against aliens because they don't care. You know what I mean? Like if they could find an alien technology that would work super well for them, or a bunch of aliens that would turn to chaos and do whatever they wanted, they'd be like, cool, let's use those. Deathwatch is a very specific. Like I'm sure that there's no chaos volunteer fire departments, like amongst the chaos cultists. They're just like, oh, that thing started on fire, cool, that's fine, I mean, like that, you know what I mean? So yeah, Deathwatch has definitely got like a very specific game plan on what they're trying to do, and I think inherently chaos is kind of like, well, okay, we don't care. So I think that's probably why there isn't one. Yeah, it's you have to be, I think, a little bit more law and order to build a group like the Deathwatch than chaos is. So that's the way that works. Let's see here. Thordalim. That's as far as I can get on that one. Sorry, dude. My Warcry bases are all the same across the board as well. Still wondering how to base my Space Wolf army, as I don't have any snow terrain, but that seems to be what most people use, the snow bases. Well, honestly, the only reason you would use the snow bases for Space Wolves, in my opinion, is if they were at home, because like it's like Wisconsin there, but all year round. Well, I mean, it's like was our Wisconsin winter there, but all year round. Yeah, so that's the home planet of the Space Wolves is snowy, and for the most part. And so, there's something to be said for that. But if they're elsewhere, and you find something that I think you think would be an interesting base, it wouldn't take too long to do on every single base in your entire army, then I would definitely go for that. I mean, they could be fighting a battle in an urban place. They could be fighting on a grassy plain, potentially. I mean, they could be fighting in... Like, I have a tendency to very frequently... Like, all my Chaos army, they're all based on... I'm trying to make it look almost like ash wastes, like ash wasteland. And so it's a lot of, it's a lot of baking soda and little bits of stuff and whatever, but it's all kind of gray and grungy and stuff like that. But then that way, like, that could be where they hang out, or it could be where they are fighting, and they are turning the area into ash, battlefield, ash-covered battlefield. So thinking about that stuff, I think, is not a bad idea. Rocker Boy says, "Hey Adam, thanks for inspiring me with your content to finally find time to get into 40K painting." Well, absolutely. No, I'm glad that... I think it's a great hobby, and I've said this I don't know how many times. I honestly think that modeling, like making these little figures and building them and all that kind of stuff, is a great it's for me, it's meditative to some degree. It's a stress reliever. You're just sitting down focusing. I'm listening to some like a podcast, or I'm listening to audiobook or whatever, and I'm just working on my thing, and that's what I really enjoy. And so I think that we as a people need more hobbies where we do that and we focus a little bit more. And I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I'm against just sitting and just consuming television all the time. Like, I like to watch YouTube a lot, or a decent amount at least, but I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to watch television back in the day. And when I am watching YouTube, I'm very frequently learning things. I'm watching videos about video production, or I'm watching videos about how to paint a thing, or how to, whatever, that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not watching sitcoms, and I don't want to poo-poo on sitcoms and things like that, but I don't know. It's just not for me. So that's why I try to teach people about this hobby instead. So let's see here. What else have we got? Black Legion is the closest to Death Watch, where they welcome units from all Chaos Warbands. Well, from that aspect of it, yeah. The Death Watch are made up of all different types of other chapters. So yeah, but the Black Legion, like, they're not out to like fight against a specific, other than the Emperor's finest and whatnot. They're not out there to do other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they're not out there to clean up the galaxy, because they want the galaxy to burn, as far as I can tell. Patrick Van Zandbeek says, "Space Wisconsins." Ooh, that sounds scary. Patrick says, "Legion snowtroopers need a snow base." See, when I did my... Well, technically they're called snowtroopers for my stuff. I actually didn't paint them white. I painted them like sand color, the guys, because in my opinion, they're not snowtroopers. They are hazardous environment troopers, which there is a little bit of canon behind, evidently. So because everything else in my Legion Imperial Army was based on the idea of being like in a Tatooine-style planet. Like, all the terrain that I'm building is like that. My mat is a desert thing, and so all of my models are going to be for that are going to be desert based. So like, the stormtroopers are still white, because the stormtroopers are so like basic. They're such I think the word is basic bitches these days. They're so basic that they would be like, we're not even going to bother giving you gear that is styled to the environment. We're just going to give you white gear. Just use it, whatever. You're like, yeah, but we're on a planet that's all black, and now I'm in white armor. And like, I don't care. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it works with base stormtroopers. So they're on desert bases, the base of the model, but they're in white. But the scout troopers, the snow troopers, which are actually hazardous environment troopers in my mind, those guys I painted like a sand color, so they blend in a little bit better. And then of course they're still on the sand bases. Now the Death Troopers just kind of look pretty awesome in black. And my feeling is the Death Troopers, if they were like, hey, Death Troopers, why don't we paint that armor to be desert color so you can blend in a little better? I feel like the Death Troopers are like, nah, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, they're not here to blend in. You know what I mean? So so that's why I painted them like you would normally paint Death Troopers, which are black. But yeah, so my snow troopers are hazardous environment troopers. Like they've still got the big heavy outfit and the big weird kind of dumb helmet and all that stuff, but it's all air conditioned inside there, so they feel a lot better. That's my thought. There you go. So anyway, that's what I've done. Travis Becker says use clear acrylic bases so you don't have to have snow in the desert. I've never tried them. I've seen them. I've thought about them. I honestly like making the bases a little bit more than I don't. For people who hate bases and hate like having to put the extra time in, I think the acrylic bases are not a bad idea. You've got to use a different kind of glue. Like you can't use super glue with acrylic bases because it will, as it dries, the fumes from the super glue will fog the clear color of the acrylic. So from what I've been told in the past, you always have to use plastic cement. Same for like if you're building a model airplane and there's like the clear plastic canopy on the model airplane, you're supposed to use plastic cement for that because if you use super glue for that, it will fog. But yeah, so there's that. I think that'd be kind of interesting. I should try it one of these days, but JP Got Rocket says Wisconsin Space Wolves. I mean the whole Vikings and Nordic Scandinavian settlers. It kind of fits. Yeah, I mean we got a lot of Germans too. It's a lot more Germans here than the more Vikings and Scandinavians are a little bit more Minnesota-wise. But yeah, we've got it makes sense. Hannah says, painting is so soothing. I agree. I totally agree. 12 Neef says, hey, 12 Neef. Love the Game 4 podcast, by the way. Oh, thank you. I'm working on editing up another one this upcoming week at work. It'll go live Wednesday, Thursday. Like, the audio goes live usually Wednesday, and then the video goes live Thursday, very early morning. Yeah, so anyway, for those of you who don't know, the Game 4... I got my Game 4 sweatshirt on. But the Game 4, we've been doing a podcast every 2 weeks. And it's not just about the app at all. It's like we don't go, oh, well, this is the app and the app and the app and the app, and then, no one wants to listen to that for an hour. What we do is we talk about building community within the gaming industry and talking about a lot of different things. We talked recently about old games being made new again, like Fireball Island and just a bunch of those like old board games that have now been, like the rights have been bought by new companies and they do a Kickstarter and they crank new stuff out, and is that good? Is it rose-colored glasses and it's maybe not as good as it used to be? Is it something that you buy because now you've got kids and you can share the game that you used to enjoy with the kids and that kind of stuff and whatever? We talk about how to get into the different genres. We did one about how to get into miniature gaming, one about how to get into board gaming, because the podcast is not just about miniatures. It's about all types of tabletop gaming. We talk about Dungeons and Dragons a bunch because it's me and Matt, not moderator Matt, but Matt from Game 4. And he's more into RPGs than I am by quite a bit. So we've got a couple different perspectives in that, and so yeah, check it out if you're interested. You can find it on YouTube. If you just do search for Game 4 podcast, you'll find it on YouTube. It's on the Game 4 YouTube channel. But it's also an audio version too that you can just listen to, and that's on pretty much any place that you like to listen to podcasts. We do it through Anchor, but it gets put on Apple and Google and Spotify and a bunch of 9 total different possible platforms. So anyway, David Moffat says, I support poo-pooing on sitcoms. I mean, they're just not for me, but some people enjoy them. That's fine. Hazard environment troopers should be painted yellow, akin to in Monsters, Inc. Well, they're not hazmat troopers, I guess, but I guess they could be. I mean, sort of. I mean, my thought you would paint them with what, like if it was like an acid world that they were sending them onto and everything was greenish, then you'd paint them sort of greenish. If it was a desert world, you'd paint them desert. When it was Hoth, you painted them white. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. What else have we got here? I like to listen to radio programs while I model and paint. Ground Zero, Coast to Coast, material and subjects often complement what I'm working on, which is weirdness. I think that's a cool idea. I mean, I do have a tendency to listen to whatever as far as podcasts. I do listen to some gaming podcasts while I'm painting, but sometimes I listen to non-gaming podcasts as well. With books, I also alternate. Lately I was listening to a bunch of a bunch of Horus Heresy books, and then now I'm listening to There's a guy on YouTube that does a show where he reviews video games. His name is Yahtzee Croshaw, and it's called Zero Punctuation. And he does these really super rapid fire, fast kind of reviews that are like animated, and it's his talking, and he's got this kind of Australian-y, Englishy, something or other going on voice. And I know he's lived in both areas for a while, so I don't know if he's Australian living in England or he was English living in Australia. I don't know where he lives right now. But anyway, he's got a very distinctive voice, and he's funny. And he started writing novels. And so I've actually listened to most of his novels, and I'm currently listening to a sequel to one of his novels that's about basically like a space. It's a guy who's like a space pilot, and space pilots are not cool anymore because we figured out quantum tunneling. So now you just, like, when you're on Earth and you want to go to Mars, you just walk through an archway and now you're on Mars. So you don't need space people anymore. The first one was called something like "We'll Save Galaxy for Food." And now the new one is something like "Will Destroy Galaxy for Money." I don't remember actually what it's called, the sequel. But it's been enjoyable. And so that's what I've been listening to lately when I've had the chance. I've been listening sometimes while cleaning the basement. So that's something. David says, I listen to hobby-related content when I work in a hobby. It's great. Yeah, I do enjoy that kind of stuff as well. What else? Castman83 says, Game 4 podcast rules. I need a question so I can get that shirt. You should definitely do that. If you've got some sort of question for the podcast, if you listen to it, and we read it on air, then we'll send you a free shirt that says that Matt and Adam read my question on the Game 4 podcast, and all I got was this lousy shirt. So that's fun. Let's see here. Varnish your model aircraft canopy, then you can use superglue. Polystyrene cement will fog clear pieces just like superglue does normally. Really? See, I've never had a problem with regular plastic cement. It doesn't usually fog clear stuff. But I've not heard that trick with using the varnish. That's interesting. I should try that out. Brian Griffith says, I'm sure that Space Wolves are fans of beer and cheese made from beer. I don't see why you wouldn't be, but yeah, totally makes sense. Travis Becker says, did Eisenhorn get an Adeptus Sororitas? Did the faction keyword in Kill Team? I don't know, but he did get a bunch of faction keywords, which I thought was interesting, because he's in the points list for like a bunch of different factions. Let's see if I can find the point stuff. Not in Gene Stealer Cults. I know he doesn't get that. He's not in the Orcs, strangely. Not in the Harlequins. He's not in the Eldar, which I'm a little surprised by. I don't see... He's not in the list of commanders for the Sisters of Battle, but he is in the list of commanders for Adeptus Mechanicus, Astra Militarum, and for Astartes. So he's you can use him as a commander in Space Marines, Imperial Guard, or AdMech, which I think is interesting. But I don't know that he's actually listed here in the book. Now, if you want Eisenhorn, you can just go to the Warhammer community website and you could download him directly from that. Because what happened was they put... this is crazy. They put Eisenhorn in the same issue of White Dwarf with the demons, but they completely messed up his stat line. They actually copied and pasted the bloodletter stat line and just put it as his and screwed it all up. And then when everyone came out and went, why is he such a wuss? And then people looked at it from Games Workshop and was like, oops. And so then they released it as a PDF you can download just from the Warhammer community website. I don't remember exactly where, but if you do a search for Eisenhorn on there, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. So yeah, but I so far have not seen him here in the book. The other thing that somebody asked me about was Severina Rain. Is that her name? She was like a special edition kind of resin, like female commissar. I have not seen her in here. Oh, wait, no, she is showing up as a kill team commander for Astra Militarum, but I don't know where her stats are. I haven't seen. I should go online and see if I can find her kill team stats because I have the model, and I think she'd be fun to have in the kill team as well. The issue is that I just find I play more elites than I play. I've never yet used a commander. I've bought some commanders and built them so that I could have them eventually to use, but honestly, I like elites better. Commanders is fine, but it's just I don't know. It's so many more points and stuff, and I don't know. I just Commanders is probably my least favorite add-on book so far for Kill Team. I thought Elites was really cool. Commanders in concept is cool, but for some reason it's just not striking my fancy as much as I would like. So that's a bummer. Saloth says, new Kill Team player, should I buy the annual? You need to have the core book first. So if you don't have, there's been some people who are like, oh, so the annual replaces the core book or replaces elites or replaces commanders. It does not. It is an add-on. So you need the core book if you don't have it. If you've got the core book and you've been playing some kill team and stuff like that, then the reason that you buy this book, in my opinion, is if you want to build a Sisters of Battle kill team, if you want to build a Chaos Demons kill team, if you want to build a Kroot kill team, if you need more scenarios and stuff to play because you've run through the scenarios that are in the core book and you're kind of bored with them and you want other stuff, then that's a great reason for it. If none of those things strikes your fancy, then you may not necessarily need this book. That's kind of the way it works. So yeah. What else have we got here? Cordial says, thanks for the heads up about the Game 4 podcast. I had no idea it existed until just now. We do we do them every 2 weeks? I think we're on 13 or 14 episodes done so far. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's me and Matt from Game 4, and we talk for about anywhere between 35-40 minutes and sometimes as long as an hour about stuff. Let me see here. Gary was talking to somebody else. Rocker Boy says, "Say, Adam, do you know what happens to Ed from the YouTube channel The Vaults of Terra? Your content and Ed's are the best. I hope he is in good health." I have not heard of The Vaults of Terra, so I don't know anything about. I hope that if Ed is ill, I hope Ed starts feeling better soon. But I've never heard of The Vaults of Terra. Is it like a lore like a lore YouTube channel? I don't really watch any of the lore YouTube channels. I know there's a bunch of them out there and they get tons and tons and tons and tons of views, but I've never watched any of those, so I don't know. So sorry, yeah, I don't know anything about that. Alejandro says, thanks for all your recommendations about how to play tabletop games and see the importance of having fun over winning. You are an inspiration. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice. And I'm glad that part of the message is getting through to people about playing the games for fun as opposed to trying to just win. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Uncle Adam, what do you think about using the Zone Mortalis floor tiles for Kill Team? I mean, that's kind of why I bought the Dark Uprising box, is because I want to use maybe not the floor tiles as much. That's a good question, actually. I haven't looked real hard at the floor tiles yet. I already own, let's see, I've got 2 of the Realm of Battle board, like the Imperial kind of, or the industrial like Realm of Battle boards. I've got 2 of those that I'm going to be using for Kill Team, like bat reps and stuff like that. I need to paint them, but they are primed. I have currently fully painted, not made by Games Workshop, but the heck is it? Secret Weapon Miniatures. They make plastic, cool 1 foot by 1 foot tiles. And they have like this kind of ruined urban roadway, and those I've got painted and ready to go. Like those are ready to go for Kill Team, and so I'm going to be using some of those as well. I've got some mats that are also Kill Team sized. Of course, I got some of the boards too. I want to take a look at those Zone Mortalis tiles as well, because those might be kind of fun to use as well. But definitely, I'm going to use the vertical stuff that comes in that box. That's the plan, is to use that stuff also for Kill Team. The Gamecraft Dragon says that Severina Rain is downloadable for Kill Team, I'm assuming. So yeah, that's cool. I'll have to double check that and get that file someplace, because I do like the model, I think. I actually want to try to find a second one. I have one, and I want to find a second one because I want to modify her and give her a power fist instead of the sword, and maybe tweak the head too, like get rid of the hat and give her just like a, because I've got some heads for women, like, you know, from statuesque miniatures, and give her a different head so that I could have a different, you know, basically the same model, but like her hat came off, that kind of thing. DTM Jax says, "Hey Adam, I finally loaded up the Game 4 app yesterday, though I've just set it up and I haven't put it to good use yet. I think it will be an excellent resource to find local like-minded players." Yeah, that's the idea. That's the plan. We've got some new features we're working on right now to add into it. We're working on something called badging, which is kind of like achievements in like Xbox or whatever, that kind of stuff. So like if you once you make your first looking for players listing, you would get an achievement, which other people that look at your profile will be able to see, you know, these achievements and things like that. And you know, there's people that like to chase achievements and people that don't. I'm not big into achievements, but one of the achievements, because another part of that when we launch that new feature, is we're going to be adding referral codes. So let's say you've got Game 4 and you've got a friend who doesn't, and you say, hey, you should sign up for this, it's really cool. And they're like, okay. You can give them your referral code, and then they can sign up and then put in the referral code, and then you will get credit for them signing up. And what happens is then both of you get a badge. You would get a badge, let's say you do it next month. So you'd get a January 2020 badge that says, hey, I referred somebody. And that person can only be referred once, obviously, you know. So they would get a referral badge saying, hey, I've been referred. And it wouldn't be month or year dependent. It's just, I was referred, and that's how I got here. Then at the end of January, we're going to do a drawing, and we're going to do this every month. At the end of January, in this example, we'll do a drawing where you and the person that you referred potentially could be drawn. And then if you are both drawn, then each of you is going to get a gift card to your local game store. We'll contact you and say, who's your local game store? And then we'll call them and get them a gift card or whatever, and, you know, a gift certificate, whatever. And we haven't decided how much it is. It might be $50 per person. It might be $100 per person, you know. But so the thing is that the more people that you refer, the more chances you get to win, and that just gets more people in the app. Because right now the app, like, things are dialed in pretty well, and the thing that just the app needs more of is more people in there, you know. So that's why we're looking at doing this. But the coding has already been underway for a couple of weeks. So yeah, so that's where we're gonna, and we'll be launching that hopefully real soon. But that's the plan. That's gonna be the next plan to kind of help get more people involved in the app, and we're tweaking other things and doing other stuff. We've got our roadmap, but that's the thing that we're working on currently, amongst other things, because again, Game 4 is not Game 4 is not the only thing that we do. Like Milk Can, the company that I work for, we do client work. We work for, we do stuff for Battle Foam. We do stuff for insurance companies and benefits companies that, you know, and manufacturers, and do, you know, so we do client work for companies, but this Game 4 thing is a thing that we do on the side because we think it needs to be done. And, you know, currently we've got advertising in there, and that helps to pay for server costs and stuff like that, so we're not losing money on it. But we do want to be able to do more with it as far as the advertising, and like, because the advertising is all advertising that we're selling. We're not like hooking up to just like Google's advertising farm and getting all kinds of weird junk, you know, mainly spam and, hey, you should sign up for this app, or, you know, Clash of Kings or whatever. What we're doing is we're saying, hey, you know, Battle Foam, do you want to advertise directly to tabletop gamers? Or, hey, Beetle and Grimm, do you want to advertise directly to tabletop gamers? And stuff like that. So the people who are advertising in the app, as we keep growing it, are realizing that the people who are looking at it are specifically their audience. So that's what we're doing. We didn't want to do a big, you know, hook up to one of the big major networks, because we didn't think we would see actually much benefit from that, and neither would the users. So that's where that's at. Let's see here. Travis Becker says, I have the Eisenhorn PDF when they redid his stats and then added the Deathwatch faction keyword. So that's interesting that they added the Deathwatch faction keyword to his stats, but he's not in the... Yeah, this is the right book. He's not in the points for Deathwatch. unless I just totally missed it because I wasn't paying attention enough. Deathwatch points. Yeah, the only commander they list under Deathwatch points is the Watchmaster, levels 1 through 4. They don't mention him in there. That's really interesting. Huh. I don't know. I've heard from some folks that they feel like there's some typos in this book, like I mentioned earlier. It'll be interesting to see once it actually comes out if we get, some yes or no to whether that's true or not. Did they change the name from Blood to Blitz, or is it a different game? Blitz Bowl is a different. Well, it's based off of Blood Bowl, but it is a different game. Blitz Bowl is a much smaller game. I think it costs like $40 or $50, and you can only get it at Barnes and Noble, which is a little weird, but that's that's where it comes from. You're not playing with full Blood Bowl teams. You're playing with like the humans. You're playing with like maybe 6 figures instead of like 12 or 13. Same with the orcs. You're playing with smaller forces. And it's a slightly different game on a slightly smaller board, but it's actually, I think, a lot of fun. We played it at TMX this year, and it was a good time. Blood Bowl is the like larger scale kind of version of that game where you're playing with full teams, and it's a little bit more footballish, whereas this is a little bit almost rugby as Blitz Bowl is a little bit, because it's so back and forth. It's not all about just getting into the end zone to get points. There's a lot of other ways you can get points in Blitz Bowl as well, which you don't have in Blood Bowl. So but it's interesting. What else are we talking about here? Do you think there's a downside to not monetizing a YouTube channel aside from the lack of revenue? That's a good question. I have been told, or I've read, I've not been told directly, but I have read or I've watched in videos that there is a belief that if you don't monetize your videos, you are less likely to be shown to potential viewers via the algorithm, the dreaded algorithm. Which I guess, like, if you were like a big creator and you just decided you didn't want money from YouTube because you did it through t-shirt sales or something else or whatever, or Patreon or whatever, then you could just be like, I'm just going to turn off all the ads. Like, I didn't have any ads turned on my YouTube channel until I hit 10,000 subscribers. And I still don't think that that's a bad idea. And I don't know if it's true. You'd have to do some research, but there are people out there that believe that if you have ads turned off, you don't get suggested in the suggested videos thing over here on this side of your YouTubery, because they can't make money off of you. But I don't know if that's true or not. That's the only thing I've heard. But when I did it, when I started in 2013, I did not turn on ads until I hit 10,000 subscribers. And 10,000 subscribers for me didn't come for the first like 2.5 years. Like, I went from, I think it was sometime in September-ish of 2015 is when I hit 10,000 subscribers. And that's when I turned on advertising. And my thought process was like, I'm just figuring this out. So what's the benefit? Like, why am I going to make you sit through an ad when I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing? You know what I mean? A little bit of that. So yeah, there's that. Let me see here. Hey, Matthew Sears has popped in to say hello. It's Matthew Sears' birthday. Moderator Matt's birthday, by the way. At least if Facebook is to be believed. I knew it was right around this time because he was talking about it last time we were chatting. But yeah, birthday for Moderator Matt. So folks should say happy birthday to Moderator Matt. It's nice to see him. Let's see here. What are we talking about? Blitz Bowl does come with rules for most of the Blood Bowl teams, which is cool. Yeah, like it comes with 6 humans and 6 orcs, I believe, but it also comes with cards for like gremlins, goblins, something like that, Gretchens maybe. It comes with a bunch of other like cards in there too, so you can play other armies as well if you want to, which is very cool. What else have we got here? Trap Lord George says that Dawn of War is the best Warhammer video game. I did like Space Marine quite a bit. That was fun. Let me see here. Let's see. I spent an embarrassing. Emily says that she spent an embarrassingly long time trying to find the ad setting to turn it off, but to find out that I couldn't turn it on because my channel was too new and little. Yeah, that's the thing too. Is that nowadays they've changed it so like you have to have at least I think 1,000 subscribers before you can even turn it on. So if you're just starting out, you don't even have to worry about it because you can't turn it on, from what I understand. So yeah. Let me see here. Oh, geez, everything moved. Oh, a lot of happy birthdays. That's good to hear. Mark says, with Old World coming and the release of Kill Team Necromunda and Warcry, do you think they'll bring back Mordheim or just a variant of it for Underworlds? Variant of it for Underworlds to me doesn't make a lot of sense because Underworlds is not a terrain-heavy game and Mordheim always was. That's a good question. I still don't know if they will bring it back. I really hope that they do. When Warcry came out, my hope that Mordheim would come back sort of dropped a little bit. I think that's maybe... I think that if they were going to bring back Mordheim, they almost would have done it before Warcry or instead of Warcry, but with Warcry out, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. It could still potentially come out. I would love to see it come out. I just don't know. It may still be a couple years away. It's hard to say. Yeah, definitely. Mordheim video game is pretty fun if you like turn-based tactic games, says Aksu. I played a little bit of it, actually, if I remember correctly. Like, I don't remember if I played it on the PS4 or on PC. I want to say it was on PC, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Zach Walker says, please don't bully me, but what is Mordheim? Mordheim was an older game that Games Workshop did that was based in, like, fantasy. It was, the Warhammer Fantasy kind of realm. And the idea was there was this city called Mordheim, and then there was this comet that basically hit it, which was bad, and squished most of the city. But the bits of the comet are known as warpstone, and they're highly prized for reasons that I forget. I don't know if they gave you an extra magic boost or whatever, but so the idea is there's this ruined city of Mordheim, and so each player has a small band, 10 or less models, of treasure hunters that are going to go in to get the warpstone and get out. It's basically, if you've heard of Frostgrave, Frostgrave is kind of based a bit off of Mordheim, but different. But it's sort of the same concept. Like, Mordheim has been out of print for a long time, and so the people at Osprey were just like, why don't we make a game that's kind of like it and just tweak some things a little bit differently? And it's been very popular. So if you're interested in Mordheim, or the Mordheim type game, then I would say Frostgrave is the thing to take a look at, because you can use whatever models you want. The book is nice and inexpensive, and everything's kind of great. So, yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Oh, look who's here. Nick is back from on patrol. So, yeah, so nonetheless, there is no Mordheim anymore. I mean, you can go online and download a PDF of it somewhere, but I'd tell you to look up Frostgrave these days. Will they remake Mordheim at some point? Potentially. I kind of hope they would, really, but we'll see. It's kind of a bit off. Let me see here. Darius says, dropping in late, is it confirmed that the Repentia Max 1 is a typo? I hear in the Repentia Mistress it refers to multiple Repentia. No one knows yet. At least I don't. Well, maybe someone knows. I don't know yet. I have a suspicion that the FAQ will come out once the book drops, and then they will go, oh yeah, these are the things that we screwed up, or whatever. But I haven't heard anything, sadly. Warpstone like the Skaven use? Yes, that's exactly where that came from originally, yes. David says that Mordheim was the game I fell in love with upon release, but no one in my small gaming community wanted to play it. Yeah, no, it was... Brian Griffith says, do not shave your Skaven, you won't like the results. Yeah, I can tell you that. Emily says, welcome home. I think she went back outside. Wizards pay money for Warpstone, says JP Got Rockets. Yeah, I knew it was something along those lines. It's something magical, kind of. It reminds me a little bit of Soulstones, a little bit, from Malifaux. Big Abe 12 says, do you varnish your models? I'm always failing. They look dull and too matte or shiny. I do varnish my models. Lately, my varnish of choice, and this is not an ad, but it is my favorite varnish. Sorry, I've got an itch way back down here on the back of my back. My favorite varnish is AK Interactive's Ultra Matte Varnish. So AK Interactive is, I don't know, they're a European company maybe? I don't know, actually, where they're from. But AK, like an AK-47. AK Interactive, yeah, Ultra Matte Varnish. You can brush it on. You can airbrush it on. I airbrush it on generally. But it is really super flat, and I really like it. It's my favorite. I have stopped using Dull Coat, partially because Dull Coat is... It's not as matte as it used to be, and it's also in a rattle can, and I can spray it outside, and sometimes outside sucks. So yeah, there's that, yeah. There's that. Any thoughts on Chapter Approved? They sent me a copy of that too, but I have not really looked at it. And I'm not really the 40K guy to talk about that stuff as much anymore because I haven't really played 40K in a long time. I'm not 100% sure why they sent it, but they did. So I want to look through it though and kind of get some stuff. Emily says hello.
Hello.
Daniel Beam says, it seems like Warcry is their new dedicated skirmish game for Sigmar. At this point, that does seem to be the case. And that's why, like I said, when it came out, I was kind of like, oh, that probably means that we're not going to see more time anytime soon. So that's kind of a bummer. But Jason Gross says, what version of Kill Team do you play? I played it when it first came out and enjoyed it, stepped away from it, and now there are so many expansions I don't know where to go with it. The main, core book... See, so Kill Team's been around for a very long time, but it was always a little tiny add-on, and you add it on to normal 40K rules. This came out in 2018, this Kill Team. So this is the core book that you can get for, it's like $40, and this is a standalone. You don't need 40K main book. You don't need any codices, whatever. You don't need any of those things. You just need this book to start playing. Now, they have added on books to it that you can choose to use or not. One of them is Elites, and one of them is Commanders. Both of them do what they say in the tin. Elites add some elite-type figures to your army, and Commanders add a commander to the army as opposed to the leader. They're above the leader. I don't really dig the Commanders stuff as much. It's cool that they do it, but I just haven't really played it much around here. But Elites is cool. I would tell you to go out and buy the core book if you've been playing. If you already have the core book, well then you're good. And then that's fine. There's no reason you have to start doing these other things. If you and your friends in your area want to start maybe dipping your toe into Elites, or you really love the idea of Commanders, then you can add that on. But you can always go backwards as well and then decide, well, we're just going to play a regular game. It's not important. None of these are. And I say this all the time. None of these books are required. Now, that being said, if you're a tournament player and you go to tournaments and all that kind of stuff, whether it's tournaments at local stores, tournaments at conventions like Adepticon or whatever, then you may need some of these books. But they'll tell you that. The tournament organizers will be like, we are using the core book rules. That's it. Or we're using the core book rules, but we're also using stuff from the team manual. Or maybe they're like, we're going to have an Elites tournament, so you can use this and this and these. You need to always take a look at what the tournament organizers say when they're making a tournament, and then you can figure it out from there. But if you're just going to be playing with your friends and stuff like that, the core book is spectacular, and it's the way to go. So there's that. Zero Pathos says, I don't know if a hypothetical Mordheim release would be so big on the terrain. Medieval buildings are easy to make and easy to pick up online. Yeah, potentially. They would like to still sell you the terrain, because it makes it easier for people to get into it, I think. If you tell someone, hey, this is a really cool game you should check out, but you have to build all your terrain from scratch, it's a little bit of a step up that some people don't want to do. But if you go, look, you can buy this stuff and then put it together and then have all kinds of cool buildings and stuff like that, that's sometimes more attractive to especially newer players, But it depends on whether you want to spend the extra money for that kind of stuff too. So it's totally that's why they sell things separately. So Brett Davis says, "Are you going to Origins this year?" Potentially. I am talking with Jason from Realmsmith TV, and because last year I worked with Realmsmith and WizKids and Vallejo, and I taught painting classes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday during Origins. Origins is a general tabletop gaming convention in Columbus, Ohio, usually in mid-June. And so it was cool to do that, to do those painting classes. People were paying to come in and then get a WizKids model. Most of them were giants, although one day we did paint a Triceratops. And then I've got like a microphone, and they've got like a big monitor over here so they can see what I'm doing, and I'm teaching you like step by step how to paint, and everybody paints along. And so it's like a 2-hour class. It's a lot of fun. And so I'm, like I said, I'm in talks right now. I've gone back and forth a couple of conversations with Jason on whether they want me to come back and do that again this year. So if they do, I probably will. If they don't, I don't know if I go back to Origins. It's a cool convention and I like it, but I don't know if it's worth it as much if I'm not there to do a specific thing. Like if I'm just going to hang out there for like X amount of days, I don't know. But if I'm there teaching classes, then I would definitely see a benefit to it. So let's see. What else have we got? VJ Morph says, I'll be busting out my AK Interactive Ultra Matte for the first time ever this evening to varnish my mini swap squigs. Nice. I like that. I like that stuff. Great. I mean, you gotta shake it like you do any other kind of thing, but it does really work. JP Got Rocket says, we didn't have terrain kits. We had to build it ourselves. Yeah, and I still enjoy doing that, but I think that there's some benefit to having people, if you could say, but you can buy these and put them together and they look really super cool, people are more likely to sometimes do that and be able to get to working a little bit quicker, I guess. So it's a little after 11. It's 1 minute after 11. And so I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out and having some conversation and looking a little bit at the new Kill Team annual. Well, not a ton. I didn't go through it page by page, obviously, but tried to answer some questions and talk about some things. Again, it's not a bad book, I don't think. It's a requirement to some degree, unless you already have the White Dwarf issues. If you want to play certain armies, like if you want to play Kroot or Chaos Demons, or definitely Sisters. Like Sisters, it's the only place you can find that Sisters stuff for Kill Team right now. But yeah, it's not a bad book in my opinion, but I don't think it's necessarily an auto buy for everybody. So that's kind of my opinion. Anyway, thanks again for coming and hanging out, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. And I hope everybody in the United States-ish area had a good Thanksgiving and got to see some family and eat some food and whatever. And those of you outside of the area, I hope that you also just had a good week. No, why not? So thanks again, and thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.